Best gift for everyone. Carva Mini.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Today we will discuss Chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. This session is dedicated to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, our spiritual master and the founder and acharya of worldwide Hare Krishna movement. So there is a great mystery behind this yoga process. As we have been discussing, there are many terms which appear in different formats. There is karma, there is vikarma, there is akarma, there is karmi, there is karma yoga. So karma is very different from karma yoga. There is Jnani, there is Sankhya Yoga, and there is overlap between the yogas. So Arjuna seems to be getting confused here, because in the second chapter, Sankhya Yoga was explained, the analytical study of the world, and after that Lord Krishna explained Buddhi Yoga or Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. In the third chapter it was told, Atmaratir evasyat. One who is self-satisfied, for him there is no need to work. And then it was explained, because the results of all the actions culminates in transcendental knowledge. And at the end of fourth chapter, after explaining the glories of transcendental knowledge, Lord Krishna again recommended Arjuna to work, to fight. So Arjuna is getting confused. The result of all work, sacrificing the results of work, is knowledge. And explaining the glories of knowledge, again you are telling me to fight. How to understand this? So this chapter is very nice. Lord Krishna explains the difference and at the same time uniqueness in the process of Sankhya and Karma Yoga. Lord Krishna also describes in this chapter the peace formula. All of us are looking for peace. But our peace is into pieces. We have no clue how to get that thing. So let us understand from the words of the Supreme Personality Himself. If we apply these simple principles, we will get perfect peace in our life. Let us try to hear carefully. Arjuna uvacha Sanyasam karmanam Krishna Punaryogam cha shansasi Yachreya etayorekam Tanme bruhi sunishchitam. Arjuna said, O Krishna, first of all you ask me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial? So renouncing work is more beneficial or working with devotion? Karma yogam cha shansasi. Which of the two is more beneficial? Arjuna asks. Shri Bhagavanu vacha Sanyasa karma yogacha Nishreyasa karavubhav Tayostu karma sanyasad Karma yogo vishishyate. The Blessed Lord said, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation, but of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of works. Gyeya sanitya sannyasi yo nadveshti na kankshati nirdvandvo hi mahabaho Sukham bandhat pramuchyate. One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, liberated from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated O mighty armed Arjuna. Sankhya yoga prithak bala pravadanti na pandita ekamapyasthitas samyak ubhayor vindate phalam. Only the ignorant speak of karma yoga and devotional service as being different from the analytical study of the material world. Sankhya. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results of both. Yas sankhya if prapyate sthanam tad yogairapi gamyate ekam sankhyam cha yogam cha yav pashyati sa pashyati. One who knows that the position reached by means of renunciation can also be attained by works in devotional service, and who therefore sees that the path of works and the path of renunciation are one, sees things as they are. So yoga is one ladder. That yoga ladder has got various rungs. Lord Krishna will explain that in the 12th chapter of this book, Bhagavad Gita. In Karma Yoga also, there are two categories. Karma means acting as per the instructions of the Vedas. We all want to enjoy. But if we act as per the rules and regulations of the Vedas, then we can enjoy without breaking the laws of nature, like a civilized person is supposed to do. And when a person is dissatisfied after enjoying all the results of activities, then he further reads the Vedas and he becomes a yogi. He understands not by enjoying the results, but by sacrificing the results of my work, I will get that peace for which I am always hankering. Then he starts giving up the results of activities initially because he has been a materialist. A materialist cannot understand God or Atma Tattva, self being different from the body. So he remains in bodily concept of life and he thinks benefit of body is benefit of soul. So he becomes a philanthropist and he starts using his money for general purpose, opening schools, colleges, and welfare works for the welfare of body. And in this way, by giving up the results of activities, one comes to the platform of knowledge, sanity. And then a person is able to understand the science of self, the science of supreme self, the relation between the two. And this knowledge gives him realization that human life is just meant to realize that I am not the body. That is a platform of peace. Then he gives up the results of all his activities and becomes a sannyasi. Then when he further cultivates the knowledge, after cultivating knowledge for a very long time, one is able to, and this long time is actually spanning across many births, bahunam janmanamante. This research work is not easy. Just see, so many scientists have come and gone, and we hardly know about the planet which is next to us. So how we can understand the information not just of all the planets of our solar system, not just those of the universe, but the creator of universe. So Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, yes, if you continue your research, bahunam janmanamante, after many, many births, you will be able to understand knowledge of myself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And once a person comes to that platform, then he engages himself. So he has known, oh, I am not the body, I am part and parcel of God, just like a leaf is part and parcel of tree. So let me now water the root of the tree, then I will be satisfied. Then again he engages himself, his senses, in the service of Supreme Lord. This is also Karma Yoga, but this is higher form of Karma Yoga. So this Karma Yoga, where a person does not have much knowledge, then one person elevates himself to platform of knowledge, and then when one acts himself in full knowledge, even though he is acting, he is not na lipyate, entangled by the laws of karma. So thus Arjuna is getting confused. I have to give up action or I have to pick up action. So there are two kinds of activities, one performed without knowledge, one performed in full knowledge. In between lies knowledge. So, just taking sannyas and following the process of jnana, empirical philosophy, is called Sankhya. Sankhya means analyzing the material world and understanding how it is illusory, it is false. False in the sense it exists, as we have discussed, but our conception is wrong. If I am seeing a dog before me, that form exists, but the person is not dog. That is a soul, same as I am in this human form of life. That is just the dress of a dog. So understanding that the soul is dog, that is illusion. So a person in this way analyzes that this material world is illusory. And then he comes to understand what is reality. This is called Sankhya, the process of Gyan. Finding the root of the tree. And when he understands, finding that this is the root of the tree, I am part and parcel of God, just like the leaf is part and parcel of tree. The only way of my satisfaction is watering the root, serving the God. Then he engages himself in loving service of God. So Sankhya also leads one to loving service of God eventually. Just like the four Kumaras, they were on liberated platform and they went to Vaikuntha Loka. And even Shukdev Goswami, he was also on liberated platform. And when he heard Srimad Bhagavatam, so when they hear these liberated souls about Krishna, or when they see the form of Krishna, then they immediately get attracted and engage themselves in the service of Krishna. And there is another class of devotees who from the very beginning engage themselves in the service of Krishna. And the knowledge is automatically attained. Thus Krishna is telling, Yas Sankhya prapyate sthanam tad yogairapi gamyate. Ekam Sankhyam cha yogam cha. The situation which is attained by Sankhya, attaining knowledge, the same situation can be attained by yoga also. So those people who are in knowledge, Ekam Sankhyam cha yogam cha, they tell Sankhya and yoga, they are the same path. Because after Sankhya, one has to come to the point of yoga. It is the same path. One is more advanced position. But the same goal is attained. You are following the path of Sankhya that ends in yoga, and then the object is same, loving devotional service of Krishna. So those who are fortunate, they are able to directly come in contact with pure devotee and they engage directly in yoga process, what Krishna is telling Arjuna. Those who are not so fortunate, they analyze very nicely. As some people, when we tell them, you please chant as it is written in Bhagavad Gita, in the Shastras, follow this process. They tell, who has seen Shastras, what is this Gita? They are not able to develop faith. Then okay, they are encouraged to do research. And after many bursts of research, they will come to this conclusion. Just like already scientists have done research, now we can take advantage of that or again start doing research from the basics. So if somebody has done research, we apply it in our life and we quickly develop so many means of technology. So that Krishna is telling here. One process is finding the root, another is watering the root. If a person waters the root, if we serve Krishna, then automatically we understand, we feel nourishment. I understand, oh yes, I am part and parcel of Krishna. Because as soon as I engage myself in service of Krishna, I get unlimited satisfaction. I was hankering for this satisfaction always. So immediately there is realization that I am always connected to Krishna. As soon as I serve Krishna, I get satisfaction. As soon as you put water on the root, the leaf becomes nourished. So the knowledge automatically comes, I am part and parcel of Krishna, I am not the body. So Krishna tells anyone who applies himself perfectly to either of these paths achieves the results of both. So now the next question can be, so if that is the case, then which process should I follow? That Krishna answers in the following verse. Sanyasastu mahabhaho dukham aptum ayogataha yoga yukto munir brahma nachirenadi gacchati. Unless one is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, mere renunciation of activities cannot make one happy. The sages purified by works of devotion achieve the supreme without delay. So Krishna here again has used the word tu. Tu means but. Krishna told these processes, they are the same path. Those who are not wise, they tell this is different and that is different. The same goal will be achieved. But Krishna is telling tu, but sanyasastu mahabhaho dukkham aptum ayogata. If a person is simply a renouncer Mere renunciation of activities will not give him freedom from miseries. Cannot make one happy. Whereas Yoga Yukto Munir Brahma, a person who is engaged in the service of Lord, he gets happiness, positive happiness in the progressive march of devotional service. So if you simply renounce, then that path is very troublesome. So there are two kinds of sannyasis: impersonalists and Vaishnava sannyasis, the devotees of the Lord. So impersonalists, they analyze Vedanta Sutra and the philosophy of absolute truth. For them, it becomes very dry, simply philosophizing. Whereas other class of sannyasis, who are actually buddhi yogis or karma yogis or bhakti yogis, these are the same names for devotional service. They engage themselves according to Pancharatriki Vidhi, and they engage in very nice archana of the Lord, offering various items with great love to the Lord, cooking for the Lord, dressing the Lord, singing for the Lord, carrying out the orders of Lord, and all these activities give so much of satisfaction. Ultimately, we are hankering for this satisfaction. Why a person spends so much of money which he has earned very nicely on the family members, does not enjoy directly, because it is not the sense object. It is that loving reciprocation that we want, that satisfies our heart. What to speak of family members? People keep pets, more so in the Western countries where families are not together. When the dog comes and wags its tail and licks your cheek, you feel great happiness. There is reciprocation. So just like there is some rasa, pleasure, which is coming by serving other people, similarly, the same resources when we use for God, there is immediately reciprocation. And it is this reciprocation for God which is missing in the life of the follower of Sankhya, who has simply renounced but has not engaged himself in the service of God. So thus Krishna is telling to Arjuna, warning, although the paths are the same, but sannyas takes a very long time. Whereas for devotee, the word used here is na chiren adhigacchati. Chira means very long time. Na chirena adhigacchati means not very long time, in a very short time. So this is the difference between the paths. A karma yogi attains God in a very short time, and a Sankhya yogi, simple empirical philosopher, jnani, chiren adhigacchati, he will take a very long time, and he will not be able to feel happiness also in the path. Yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriyaha sarva bhutatma bhutatma kurvan api na lipyate. One who works in devotion, who is a pure soul and who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. Important words used here are Vijitatma Jitendriya, one who has controlled his mind and senses perfectly. So Krishna has described the process of yoga, that Karma Yoga is better than Sankhya Yoga. Now Krishna is telling what is the situation of this Karma Yogi, so that Arjuna does not confuse a Karma Yogi with an ordinary Karmi, ordinary fruitive worker. So Krishna describes, no, please understand his consciousness. External actions could be the same, but there is gulf of difference in the consciousness. And what is that? First of all, ordinary people, they work because their mind and senses are not under control. Mind tells, give me this thing, senses demand something, and they work very hard to achieve it. Whereas devotee, Karma Yogi, is Vijitatma Jitendriyaha. His mind and senses are controlled. So in order to advance in spiritual life, control of mind and senses is very important. And a person thinks, this spiritual life makes me aloof. And the family members, when they sometimes understand, our family person is studying Bhagavad Gita, following this process, let us stop him or her, because then they will become indifferent to us. But here different word is used. Please notice it carefully. Sarva bhutatma bhutatma. It means he is dear to everyone and everyone is dear to him. So it is not a fact that after Krishna consciousness a person will become indifferent. No. He is dear to everyone and everyone is dear to him. Rather, the life of a devotee, a karma yogi, is simply to work for the benefit of the suffering living entities and nothing else. He has no other purpose. So he feels so much more for the living entities rather than being indifferent. A renouncer, a person who is Sankhya yogi, he may become indifferent, it is illusion. Let me remain away. But a devotee understands the real cause of suffering and works very hard to relieve the living entities of their suffering. So thus, Srila Prabhupada explains, it is not that we will start hating or will become indifferent to our family members. No, if we actually follow this process, then we will increase our love for our family members, for the society, for the nation, for all the living entities and all the species. So this is the path of universal brotherhood, because you are engaged in the service of Krishna and we understand everybody is part and parcel of Krishna. If I love a person, I cannot hit his finger. I have to love his finger also, take care of finger also, protect finger as well. Thus, a living entity understands that all of them are part and parcels of Krishna. And because he loves Krishna, he loves everyone. His love or her love increases. So every living entity is very dear to him. And he is also dear to other living entities. Why? Because he acts as servant to all of them. We become not dear to anybody when we start to act as master. Now everyone is very eager to lord over. Husband wants to lord over wife, wife wants to lord over husband, parents on children, children or parents. Or in this way, there is competition over who will become greater lord. And this lording over tendency, my family should work for me, my society, community, subordinate boss should work for my satisfaction. People don't think of giving satisfaction to others. That is why when we take initiation or formal acceptance in the spiritual order of life, when we become qualified to understand spiritual knowledge, accept the spiritual master, then we are given the name Das. Das means servant. So when somebody acts in a very humble way, in a servant attitude, then automatically there is no chance of committing an offense to the other person. So that is why such a person is dear to everyone. So whole society is looking for this, how I can be dear to everyone, how everyone can be dear to me. This is the process. By executing this process of Karma Yoga, yogi has this consciousness. And Kurvan apina lipyate. Such a person, even though he is acting, he does not get entangled in laws of karma. Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavid pashyan shrinvan sprishan jigran ashnan gachan swapan shwasan pralapan visrajan grinan unmishan nimishan napi indriyan indriyartheshu vartanta iti dharayan. A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only material senses are engaged with their objects and that he is aloof from them. So a pure devotee performs all his activities only for the service of Krishna. Thus he offers all the activities of the senses to Krishna and he knows Krishna is in control. So my senses are acting, engaging in the sense objects. As per the control of Krishna, I am not acting. Brahmanyadhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha lipyate nasa papena Padma Patram Mivambasa. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme God, is not affected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. Kayena manasa buddhya kevalairindriyairapi yoginaha karma kuruvanti Sangam tyaktvatma shuddhaye. The yogis abandoning attachment act with body, mind, intelligence, and even with the senses only for the purpose of purification. So one may ask, what is the reason for his action, for his service, whatever he is doing? After knowledge, again a person is engaged in service. So the purpose is purification. The ultimate purpose is to get the love of Godhead, but a person cannot feel love of God, the positive pleasure, unlimited bliss in the service of Lord, unless the senses are purified, mind, body is purified, just like a sick man cannot taste food unless the body is purified of the virus. So this process can be attained either by perfect material attachment, stopping all the material activities, and thus attaining liberation after many, many births. Such a liberated person, when he comes in contact with Krishna or Krishna's pure devotee, he immediately gets attracted because he is free from contamination. And a better and quick process is when a person engages mind, body and senses in the service of Krishna, as it is mentioned here, Kayena manasa buddhya kevalaye indriyarapi. So when Kayena body, manasa mind, buddhya means intelligence. With his intelligence he is thinking how to serve Krishna. With his mind he is always thinking about Krishna while engaged in service of Krishna. Senses are engaged in the service of Krishna. So just like an iron rod in fire, when kept for some time continuously, it starts acting like fire. So when mind, intelligence, senses, everything is absorbed in the service of Supreme Lord, then Supreme Lord is completely spiritual. So our mind, body, senses also become spiritualized. And once the senses, mind, body are spiritualized, free from material contamination, then in such purified stage, a person can attain unlimited pleasure in the service of Krishna, for which we are always hankering. So thus Krishna is mentioning what is the purpose of a yogi who is acting in full knowledge. The purpose is only for the purpose of purification. Atma Shuddhaye. Yukta karma phalam tyaktva shantim apnoti naishtikim ayukta kama karena phale sakto nibadhyate. The steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers the result of all activities to me, whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, becomes entangled. Shantim apnoti naishtikim. Shanti, when we sleep, then also we get shanti, we get peace. But again, when we get up, then all the problems of the world strike our head and we become disturbed. You take intoxication, drugs. For a while we get relief. We get shanti definitely. But we want permanent shanti. Nashtiki, fixed up shanti. How to get that permanent peace? Here Krishna is telling, Yuktaha, you engage in my service, and karma phalam tyaktva, give up the results of your activities. So sometimes, especially those who are new, they ask, so practically, Prabhu, please explain, how do we offer the results to Krishna? Okay, Arjuna was in front of Krishna. Arjuna was knowing Krishna's desires, and he was knowing how to work for Krishna and how to offer the results to Krishna. But how do we do that? How do we yukta? How do we engage in service of Krishna? How do we offer the results? That is why Krishna tells in the 4th chapter, Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Engage yourself in the sevaya, service of Tattvadarshina, that is my service. Just like Viceroy would come from England, and he would get all the respects that are due to a king. And he would receive many gifts, but he will not use any of those things in his personal enjoyment. He will take back and offer it to the king or queen. Whether we put letter in the post office or in the letter box, it will reach the destination. In a similar fashion, if we are very qualified, like Arjuna, Brahma, Kumaras, we can take instructions directly from Krishna, understand what is Krishna's service and engage in service and offer the results to Krishna. Or we can find out who is Krishna's representative who is carrying out Krishna's orders here. That is pure devotee of Krishna, a guru. And what is Krishna's work, Krishna's service? That Krishna has explained. Dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. To give this knowledge to others, to take living entities out of this suffering. That is my work. So if we find anybody who is spreading this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, of Dharma to others, very sincerely repeating the instructions of Krishna and helping all the living entities come out of their miseries, in their service, in such an establishment, we can do seva and we can offer the results of our activities. And when we do that, what is the result? Shanti mapnoti naishtikim. Then we get not temporary shanti of sleep or intoxication, then we are always shant, we are always very peaceful. So firmly Lord Krishna is telling you, please step on this first level of spiritual platform, first pedestal, and that is karma phalam tyaktva. Please give up the results of your activities. Life does not become very, very blissful by accumulating the resources or increasing the sense enjoyment. It acts the other way around. So, shariram kevalam karma. Only for keeping body and soul together one should work, and excess, if we get the results, tyaktvatma shuddhaye. It should be given for the service of Krishna, and then self-purification happens. Sarva karmani manasa sanyaste sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvanna karayan. When the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of 9 gates, the material body, neither working nor causing the work to be done. This material body is called city of 9 gates. Why 9 gates? Because there are 9 holes in this body. 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, mouth, genitals and anus. 9 gates. So in this city, the soul is there and the Supreme Lord is also there in the heart. So when we identify ourselves with the body, then we suffer from the miseries which are coming to body. Body gets sold, body dies, body faces criticism or other things. And if we think I am the body, we get affected by such miseries. And when I identify myself with the Lord sitting in the heart, or I am part and parcel of Supreme Lord, I am not connected to this body at all, then I become as free as the Lord. The Supreme Lord has entered the heart of all living entities, including the heart of a pig who is sitting there in a filthy drain. But is Lord getting affected by the filth of the drain? No. The Lord is transcendental. So this is the secret of living happily in the city of 9 gates. Nobody can be happy in the city of 9 gates. Always some turmoil is there, physical, mental. But this is the secret. When we identify ourselves with the Lord, I am not this body and mind, I am part and parcel of Supreme Spirit. Then even though within this body, Sukham Vashi, happiness comes under His control. We are hankering for happiness. What is the situation of such a realized person? Vashi, happiness comes under His control. न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि लोकस्य सृजति प्रभुः न कर्मफल संयोगं स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते. The embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. Same thing is being mentioned, Prakrite Kriya Manani, what we understood in 2nd chapter, that material nature is doing everything. Embodied soul thinks I am doing, but what we are doing? Now we are in this human body, now we are acting basis the modes we have acquired. We are very tamasic, we will be forced to sleep. We are very rajasic, we will be forced to do hard work and we will be attracted to sense pleasure. We are sattvic, we will be sense controlled. The same soul from this human body gets transferred to a dog body, we will be helplessly chasing bones. The same soul gets transferred to swan body, we will be chasing the waters. The same soul gets transferred to some other body, bird body, we will be hopping from one tree to another. We are forced to find food to eat, we are forced to eat certain kind of foodstuffs. pig is forced to eat stool, helplessly getting attracted. Pig may think I am using my free will. No, we can see pig is forced. Animals have no freedom. They are automatically attracted to certain kind of food, certain kind of life. And human being also, unless he utilizes the injunctions of the Vedas, Shastras tell Dvipad Pashu. We are like animals on two legs. We are also helpless. So if we want actually freedom in life, we have to take advantage of these wonderful instructions which are given in the scriptures. Otherwise, we will also, don't we feel helpless at times? The materialists do feel helpless almost all the time. Why? Because they don't take advantage of coming out of the control of material energy. So thus it is being told here that the living entity is not inducing anybody to act nor causing the actions to be done, helplessly being dragged by the modes of material nature. In lower species, one is completely helpless. In human form, we have some freedom. If you use Shastras, that freedom can be increased. And then we can become completely freed from the laws of nature. Na datte kasya chit papam na chaiva sukritam vibhuhu ajnane navritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. Nor does the Supreme Spirit assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. So one may tell, oh, if I am helpless, then in such helplessness, if I commit sinful activities, then Lord God should be responsible because material energy is controlled by God, and under the control of material energy, I am doing sinful actions or good actions. So Lord should be responsible. Why I am being punished? So here, that is why Krishna is clarifying. Na datte kasya chit papam. Supreme Lord does not assume the responsibility. How do we understand? It is just like a judge may give punishment to somebody, very great strict punishment to somebody, or he may also give compensation to somebody, some relief. So it is not that judge is partial, although everything is happening under control of judge, by the sanction of judge. In a similar fashion, everything is happening under the sanction of Supreme Lord, but he does not create activities. So then, what is the reason for suffering of the living entity, sinful actions, whatever living entity is doing? That Krishna explains. Ajnane navritam jnanam. This ignorance which covers the living entities. Living entity helplessly, he then acts and does sinful activity and suffers. So that is why one should be very, very cautious to keep oneself always in knowledge, not to fall in ignorance. Just like if a person is now very sane, but if he chooses to drink or take any form of intoxication, then he becomes mad. Then in drunken state, people even forget who is mother, who is daughter, and all kinds of unlawful incidents do happen. Sinful actions, then a person suffers. Crimes happen under intoxication, and when a person comes into knowledge, he cries at times. So the same thing happens. When the living entity comes in contact with ignorance, then he is helpless. Then he does not know or she does not know what is going to happen. So that is why our senses, our mind, intelligence, when they are always engaged in the thoughts and service of the Supreme Lord, then it is like iron rod in fire. It does not behave like iron but like fire, emits heat and light. So we also always remain in knowledge, in Shuddha Sattva Guna, when we maintain constant touch with Krishna. Jnanena tu tad ajnanam yesham nashitamatmanaha tesham aditya vajjnanam prakashayati tatparam. When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything, as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. So spiritual knowledge is not very tough. One simply needs to elevate oneself to spiritual energy, Shuddha Sattva Guna. Just like it is not very difficult to understand how education is important for a career to sustain oneself, but a child is so foolish it is not able to understand. Sometimes when the parents force him, he thinks, oh, these parents, they don't care about me, they are cruel, they are forcing me. So a child is not able to understand because of the mode of ignorance. A person who is heavily intoxicated, how much ever he may want to perceive the world as it is, he cannot. In a similar fashion, spiritual knowledge is common sense. It is very simple. Everything is so clear. But bewilderment happens. Krishna told it is because of agyane navritam, the covering of agyan, of the mode of ignorance. Otherwise, it is very simple. As sun comes up in the daytime, we can see everything. There is ditch, this is clean road, this is animal, there is snake, this is tree, this is clear path. Everything is clear. Tad buddhayas tadatmanas tannishthas tatparayanaha gacchantya punar avrittim jnana nirdhuta kalmashah. When one's intelligence, mind, faith and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavihastini shuni chaiva shvapake cha pandita samadarshinaha. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. So this is universal vision. We all want to have platform of equality. And actually this is great foolishness. Equality is not possible. If you tell man, you become pregnant from tomorrow, is it possible? You breastfeed the child from tomorrow, is it possible? No. So as per one's body and one's psychology, every person has to behave differently. And different respect should be given to them. Shastras don't tell give equal respect to everybody. Respect should be given to everybody, that is fact. You cannot tell you treat equally the Prime Minister as well as an ordinary street cleaner. But you cannot insult a street cleaner. Respect should be given to him also. The simile given is, just like in our body, we cannot tell hand is not important, let me take out your hand, or you cannot even take out a finger. So proper care, protection, respect is given to all the limbs of the body. But still we cannot tell all are of equal importance. Without finger, hand or leg we can survive, but without head we cannot survive. So head is most important. Thus the Brahmanas or self-realized souls are the most important people in the society, and they should be given maximum respect. Then administrative class, then mercantile class, then working class, but respect should be given to everybody. Now when you tell equal, then there is fight. Suppose there are two CEOs in a company. You find two best companies of the world having best CEOs and put them together in one company. What will happen? That company will collapse. Because one has to be CEO having maximum respect in the company. His order should be followed. Others should follow their order. Then in this sequence, the company functions nicely. Now everyone wants equal rights and they want to fight. So this equality is not the Vedic culture. Vedic culture tells equality is there. Equal respect is there on spiritual platform. So here, this is the vision of a self-realized soul, a yogi. Whether one sees a very learned Brahmana or one sees cow, dog or a dog eater, he sees everyone on an equal level. Behavior will be different. It does not mean I embrace a dog will bite me. Now because that soul is in ignorance thinking that it is dog or it is snake that may bite me and harm me. But my vision is equal. I do not think I am seeing a dog, I am seeing a snake. No, that is also spirit soul. This is also spirit soul. As per their modes of nature, their association, they have picked up different dresses only. So this is the vision of us. So if you want actual equality in society, we want equal respect for everyone, this vision is very important. That they are not dresses, they are the spirit souls. But as long as we are having these dresses, we have to have due behavior and due formal dealings with different people. Brahmana, externally we have to show more respect, and Kshatriya, externally we have to show less respect, and these things will happen. But equality is possible on spiritual platform. Ihaiva tairjitas sargo yesham samye sthitam manaha Nirdosham hi samam brahma tasmad brahmani te sthitah. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahm, and thus they are already situated in Brahm. Na prarishyet priyam prapya no dvijet prapya cha priyam sthira buddhir rasam mudho brahma vid brahmani sthitaha. A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, unbewildered, and who knows the science of God, is to be understood as already situated in transcendence. So if we want to attain the platform of liberation, this equanimity is very, very important. Not rejoicing upon gaining something pleasant, and neither lamenting upon gaining something unpleasant. Always equipoised, always undisturbed in any situation. Bahya sparsheshva saktatma vindatyatmani yat sukham sabrahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshayam ashnute. Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure or external objects, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. So there are varieties of pleasure. Lord Rishabhdev tells, Nayam deho dehe bhajam riloke kashtan kaman arhate vidbhujam ye. He tells, my dear children, he was instructing his sons, please do not spend this human form of life. This dress, human dress, is very valuable. Do not spend it for getting pleasures which animals are also getting. Vidbhujam ye. So animals, they enjoy now in materialistic society, sex pleasure is the greatest pleasure. But animals enjoy so much of sex in a day. Pigeon within an hour enjoys many times sex. We'll get tired. We don't have that capacity also. So human body is meant for self-realization. So animal bodies, they have so much of sense enjoyment. But is that sense enjoyment solving their problems of life? After sex, problem remains the same. Rather, sex may give birth to many more problems. So he's telling you, please don't waste your human energy, efforts in getting the pleasures which animals also get. That is very low grade pleasure. Your action should be only for, again he uses the same word. He tells, actions are meant for Shuddhyed yasmad brahma saukyam tunantam. Shuddhyed, for self-purification, purification of existence. Why should I purify myself? Because when you purify yourself, you experience great pleasure. There are different grades of pleasure. We all know that. As sometimes the young people are misguided. Their friends, they tell them, come on, today we will show you new pleasure. And they take them to drugs. And when you take drugs, it is definitely very high pleasure. But such a high pleasure gives a lot of difficulties, physical, mental, social and all. But definitely it is a very high form of pleasure. So there is one high form of pleasure which does not create any resultant, difficult or miserable byproducts. And that is called Brahma Sukh, that is spiritual happiness. So this instruction is given in Bhagavad Gita. This is what all the Acharyas, saints, Lord Krishna wants us as human. Why you are acting as a miser, just going for sense pleasure, which animals also do. You enjoy this great pleasure, no? And that pleasure Yamunacharya, many devotees have told. This verse of Yamunacharya is very famous. Yadavadhi mamacheta Krishna padar vinde nava nava rasa dhamani yudyatam rantumasit tadavadi batanari sangame smarimane bhavati mukha vikar sushtu nishtivanam cha. So because he was a king, he had enjoyed great pleasures before with women. Sex pleasure, kings enjoy a lot. But now he became pure devotee, renounced everything. So he's telling, Mama Cheta Krishna Padara Vinde. When I think of lotus feet of Krishna, I am getting near pleasures. This shloka we discussed previously also. But this is practical example. So simply by thinking of lotus feet of Krishna within my heart, this internal pleasure is so great. When I think of the sex pleasure, my mouth curls in distaste. So just see, this is called the pleasure of yoga. Simply by thinking of lotus feet of Krishna. Of course, this stage needs some practice under guidance of spiritual master, but a person can sit down in any place, simply think of lotus feet of Krishna or chant his names and merge in unlimited happiness. So that is what Krishna tells here. In this way, self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. Why would the great king is having all the wealth in the world, why they would leave? This was the culture. The kings would leave the kingdom and go to jungle. They would retire. As Rishabh Dev is going, Parikshit Maharaj went, Yudhishthir Maharaj went, everybody goes. Dhritarashtra went. Why somebody is going to jungle? In retirement today, people want to enjoy because they know, they understand that what is that greatest pleasure of life. And thus for this greatest pleasure, they leave all such mundane pleasures. And such an advanced person after some practice can sit down anywhere, simply chant and hear the names of God, think about the pastimes, forms of God, or he can engage in active service also, explain about God to others, preach to others, sing and dance in the service of Lord. He gets unlimited internal happiness. But Prabhu, I am satisfied with this sense enjoyment only. So Krishna tells this another important shloka, very scientific shloka. Please let us see nicely, carefully. Yehi sansparshaja bhoga dukkhayonaya evate adyantavantah kaunteya nateshu ramate buddhaha. An intelligent person does not take part in the source of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. So an intelligent man does not take part in sense enjoyment. How wrong is the education today, who tells us you work very hard so that you can enjoy your senses. Work hard, party harder. This partying harder is making our life more and more hard and hardest. Krishna is telling the creator of the world, Yehi sansparshaja bhoga. Bhoga means pleasure. Sparsh. When the senses contact the sense objects, there is generation of immediate pleasure. Nice food stuff falls on the tongue, pleasure. Genitals touch, pleasure. I watch some videos, pleasure. And we aim for this pleasure in life. But Krishna is telling, dukkha yonaya. Yoni means birth, dukh means misery. It gives rise to misery. And we have discussed in so many ways how this gives rise to misery. Again, we will discuss the example, because we have to hear again and again so that firmly we realize this concept. So it is just like intoxication. Intoxication is not just of cigarette, alcohol, or some powders. Any kind of sense enjoyment is called intoxication. It is addiction. So when a person who is intoxicating, he thinks he is enjoying life. That is fact. But such enjoyment comes at a cost of great misery later. Thus the whole world knows addiction is bad. But actually we see all of us are addicted. What is addiction? Addiction means you don't need that thing, but once you start using it, you cannot live without it. So we were not born hankering for the sense objects, but something is missing in our life. So we started enjoying sense objects. Now we cannot do without it. But enjoying those objects does not give us any special pleasure. As the famous CEO Steve Jobs told, money does not make me happy. On his deathbed he told, it is another thing I'm used to. So either money or people, they don't give us any special pleasure. The love of our life, we would have married them or we would be living with them. So, but still the miseries of life are there, and many times they are the source of all the miseries in our life. But we cannot do without them. I was not born hankering to get addicted to football match or cricket match, but now I cannot do without it. Thus, we can see that we are addicted. All kind of sense enjoyment is addiction. So Krishna is telling an intelligent person who can understand this simple sense, he does not take part in material enjoyment. Material enjoyment is source of all misery. He takes part in Ramante Yogino Anante, unlimited happiness which is not temporary. Shaknoti haiva yashodhum praksharira vimokshanat kama krododbhavam vegam sayuktasya sukhi naraha. Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is a yogi and is happy in this world. So I will repeat this, please hear carefully. Before giving up this present body, so death is the exam. Human life is meant for a preparation to reach immortality, unlimited bliss and knowledge. So before that exam, before giving up this present body, if one is able to, 1. Tolerate the urges of the material senses. We think success means if I don't need to tolerate, so much money I have, power, influence I have, whatever my senses demand, I should be able to command it, achieve it. But God is telling no. First of all, one should be able to tolerate the urges of the material senses. Second, check the force of desire. So it is not that by achieving desire we become happy, but by checking the force of desire and anger. He is a yogi and is happy in this world. So just see how wrong is our concept of happiness. We think if I am able to fulfill all my desires, if I am able to fulfill my urges, act on my urges, I'll be happy. Krishna is telling no. If you are able to tolerate the urges, if you are able to stop the force of desire, then you are happy in this world. This position has to be attained before you give up the body. Otherwise, there is another body. So please understand these words and hear with great faith and attention. These are the words of God, the person who is having perfect knowledge. Yonta sukho antararamas tathantar jyotireva sayogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhuto digacchati. One whose happiness is within, who is active within, who rejoices within and is illumined within, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme and ultimately he attains the Supreme. Labante brahma nirvanam rishaya kshina kalmashaha chinna dvaidhayatatmanaha sarva bhuta hiterataha. One who is beyond duality and doubt, whose mind is engaged within, who is always busy working for the welfare of all sentient beings, and who is free from all sins, achieves liberation in the Supreme. So, important instruction here is, who attains liberation in the Supreme? Who is beyond duality and doubt? One who is doubtful, he cannot be liberated. And how we can be doubtful? Why doubt happens? We understood it is because of ignorance, tamoguna, sinful activities. When we do sins, break the laws of nature, we get covered by ignorance and confusions come in our life. So a person who is free from all the sins, he will have no doubt about spiritual life. That is why following 4 regulative principles Shastras tell is very important. Striya Suna Dyuti Pana Yatra Dharmas Yatra Papa Chaturvidha. Many places scriptures mention, including Mahabharat, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex, no meat eating. These regulative principles are very important to be followed to come to knowledge. So sense control, especially following these 4 principles, is very, very important. Then there will be no doubt. Everything will be clear. So if you are doubtful, we have to see, am I breaking these 4 regulative principles? Am I sinful? Am I so much hankering after sense enjoyment? Then we should be patient. We should not try to understand everything in one day. Just like a child, how much ever he may try to understand, cannot understand higher things. So we have to wait for our consciousness to grow and not get disturbed if we are not able to understand the concepts of spiritual life. When your mind and senses are under firm control, then you can expect doubts will go away. And then another important thing which is mentioned here is Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha. he should be engaged in the welfare of all living entities. So a Sankhyaite, an analyzer of the material world, he will not be interested in welfare. He will go in the Himalayas somewhere or in the ashram, he'll be analyzing. But a person who is Karma Yogi, he'll be working for the welfare of all the living entities. And what is this welfare? Welfare does not mean on the physical level. So such welfare activities are recommended for less intelligent people. But a person who is wise, he knows, I may take care of the body now. That is good, definitely. But that is anyway happening as per the laws of nature. The birth of the body, the maintenance of the body, and the destruction. Body will take birth, it will be maintained, it will be destroyed by the control of nature under God. So if I don't maintain, some other person will maintain. In womb of mother, nobody can render help to child. How child is being maintained? So when he comes out of the womb, God only is maintaining. In illusion, I may think, oh, I am opening hospitals, so people are surviving. I am giving charity for the poor, that is why they are being fed, given clothes. But Krishna tells, Ahankar Vimudhatma, person who is specially foolish, he will think, I am the doer, I am taking care of anyone. God is taking care. God is giving you this brain. You are acting as instrument. If you don't act, some other person will act. So please remember, just like a child is taken care in the womb, nobody can help. When the child comes out of womb, the arrangement is there by Supreme Lord only. We should not think I am the doer. But those who are always selfish, thinking about personal enjoyment, they are encouraged to do such good activities. But the real welfare work is not saving the dress of drowning man, but saving the drowning man, saving the spirit soul, so that he does not take more miserable future dresses. So that is the act of spiritual enlightenment. Thus distributing this knowledge is the greatest welfare activity. And a Karma Yogi is engaged in such work. So this work, distribution of this knowledge, if you realize, you can go and speak, or you can simply distribute these literatures to others. This is the greatest welfare activity. Kama krodha vimuktanam yatinam yatchetasam abhito brahma nirvanam vartate viditatmana. Those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured of liberation in the Supreme in the very near future. Please mark the words again. So because these things are very important, one should be free from anger and material desires. So God is not partial to anybody. Our spiritual advancement completely depends on us. Material happiness and distress is fixed in life. People in illusion think, if I work hard, I'll be more happy. That is not possible. Yen yavan yatha dharmo dharma veha samihita sa eva tatphalan bhungte tatha tavadamutravai. As we act in this life, the results for next life destiny is fixed. So as per our actions of previous life, as soon as we take birth here, our happiness and distress becomes fixed. So that is why, if material happiness, distress is fixed, so let me now work for my spiritual happiness. And material happiness anyway does not give pleasure, it is another side of distress. So here it is being mentioned, one should become free from anger and all material desires. Again Krishna repeats, become free. So in spiritual life there is no destiny. The more we put efforts in controlling our anger, in curbing our material desires, the more we make advancement. Who are self-realized, self-disciplined. Great discipline is required for spiritual life also. So that is why the scriptures tell, Sa Gurumev Abhigachet. Abhigachet means you must go. For winning a medal in Olympics, you completely surrender to Guru, your coach. How much more is more important to surrender to a Guru who will take you to platform of liberation, immortality? So life should be great. Here Krishna has mentioned, self-disciplined. It is very, very important. Spiritual life has to be executed in a military discipline. For this, expert spiritual master is required. So such a person constantly endeavoring for perfection. When we endeavor for perfection, there would be fall downs, there would be struggles. But constant hard work should be there, constant endeavor. When a person is doing such activity, he is assured of liberation in near future. So Krishna has described the position of a person who is liberated in the Supreme. Now he will describe the process called Ashtanga Yoga to attain that position. What is this process? Krishna gives a brief introduction. In the next chapter, he will give more details about this process. Sparshan kritva bahirbahyansh chakshushchaivantare bhruvoh pranapanau samau kritva nasabhyantaracharinau yatendriya manobuddhir munirmoksha parayanaha vigatecha bhayakrodho yassada mukta eva saha. Shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breaths within the nostrils, thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence, the transcendentalist becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who is always in this state is certainly liberated. So, controlling the senses by controlling your breath, this is the process of pranayam, which is a part of Ashtanga Yoga. So, there are different ways of controlling anger and desires. So, as we understood, the desires are because of this body. The pig has certain desire, crow has certain desire, we have different desires. We are influenced by the body. This body has certain mechanism. When we are sleeping, we will not have desires of the senses. And even though the body is paining, we will not feel the pain because there is some connection which has been cut. The pain is not reaching us. So in a similar fashion, there is a way by which we can control mechanically, understanding the design of this yantra. We can act in certain way by which anger and fear can be kept away. And that happens by Ashtanga Yoga, sitting in one place, firm place, going to jungle. We will see details in the next chapter. And not closing the eyes completely, that will make a person fall asleep. That is why today the people who meditate with closed eyes, they sleep. That is not recommended by Krishna, half closed. Fully if we open, then sense objects may distract us. So keep it half closed, focus on the tip of the nose, control the breath, suspend the breath in the nostrils. And in this way, we will be free from fear, anger, and desires. This is very scientific way. And then you can attain the Supreme. But this process is very difficult and not possible for all. Krishna is recommending to Arjuna so that Arjuna can reject it. So it is an instruction to all of us. When 5,000 years ago Arjuna could not follow, what is it possible for weak entities like us in Kali Yuga who are not trained in strict brahmacharya? Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim racchati. The sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attain peace from the pangs of material miseries. So when the anger is gone from the body, fear is gone from the body, and desires, material desires are also gone from the body, then a person can understand Supreme Lord. And what is that understanding? Bhoktaram yagya tapasam. So far Krishna has told, give up the results of your work. In between he gave hints that your senses should be engaged in my service to offer it to me. Now clearly Krishna is telling, Bhoktaram yagya tapasam. You understand that I am the enjoyer of all the sacrifices, offered through the devtas or offered directly to me in knowledge. But ultimately I am the beneficiary. Sarvalok Maheshwaram. I am the controller of all the planets, entire universe. And Suridam Sarvabhutanam, I am the best well-wisher of everyone. Gyatva Mam. So such a yogi, only when we are free from all the urges, anger, fear and desires, we can understand this. Otherwise, as long as we are controlled by the material urges, we cannot understand about God. Shantim Racchati. When a person understands this, then he gets Shanti. This is peace formula. So we have to understand Krishna is a supreme enjoyer. We should work for his enjoyment. What will happen if we work for his enjoyment? He is Sarvalok Maheshwaram. He is the controller of the entire universe. Not a blade of grass moves without his permission. So if the controller of the entire universe is pleased with my service, everything is under his control. How there can be any disturbance in my life? Oh, but that is autocratic. Krishna wants me to force. So Krishna is telling no. Suridam means he is our best well-wisher, our eternal relative. Just like the parents are telling child in a similar fashion, Krishna is telling, Suridam, I am not autocratic ruler. Parents are not autocratic. They are best well-wishers of children. Similarly, Krishna is telling, Suridam, I am your best well-wisher. So when a person understands this knowledge, so he engages only in the loving service of Krishna, and then Shantim Rachati, then he attains peace. So this process can be attained by Sankhya, analyzing the world, can be attained by Ashtanga Yoga, going sitting in the jungle, Himalayas and meditating on Krishna within the heart, and can very easily be realized by directly doing Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga, engaging in the service of Krishna. That Krishna will explain very nicely. We will see in the next chapter. So in this chapter we saw Krishna has clarified, yes, knowledge is important and acting in devotional service is also important, and both of them are one path only. In illusion we think that they are different. Still, the path of Karma Yoga is better because very soon, it does not take many births. If one is sincere, in one birth one can attain God. Achirena digachati. And this path is full of bliss, full of pleasure. Controlling senses could be very difficult. One may wonder how to control anger, how to do this thing. It becomes very easy for a Karma Yogi because he is always enjoying the pleasure of meditating upon Krishna. There is no time for him to think about anything else. People have praised me, given honor to me, criticized me, given me dishonor, my senses are happy, in distress. He is not at all bothered because he is always absorbed in meditation upon lotus feet of Krishna, on the holy name of Krishna. So thus, when a person engages in service, then there is pleasure in the life. There is no time to become angry. Nobody can disturb him. There is no other desire because he is satisfied by virtue of his service, loving service to Krishna. So this becomes very easy, and it is practical also. When we engage in service of Krishna, we will see automatically all the senses become gradually silent. It becomes very easy, the self-control. So Krishna is telling this process is more important. Then he explained the situation of yogi. Yogi is always on platform of equanimity. Unless equanimity is there, it is not possible to understand God. One should work for the welfare of other living entities. Real welfare is to bring them to spiritual platform, immortality, so that they don't have to accept these temporary dresses. And to attain that supreme platform, this process of Ashtanga Yoga Krishna has given brief. And the details, whether that should be followed or not, will be explained in the next chapter. Thank you so much for hearing. Hare Krishna.